And I had to let that menu screen go a second time because, damn it, I love that menu screen. So much nostalgia. Anyway, hello there all. Welcome to my Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past LP. I did not know that you had to let the screen stay in the menu, well, on the title screen, in order to get that intro, because I grew up on the Game Boy Advance version, which is still fine. I found some weird... I shouldn't have done that. Some differences, like some strange audio changes and so on that I wasn't really a fan of looking back on. Like, I watched SNES playthroughs. This version came on the Super Nintendo, by the way. I'm playing on the Virtual Console, as I do not own a Super Nintendo, or the cartridge or anything. Anyway, I found that the audio was changed for some reason, which is weird comparing it to like Super Mario World and the other Mario ports of Game Boy Advance, because I didn't find any audio changes. It's strange, and I also know there's a number of glitches in this version that I want to really possibly show off, among other things. But anyway, I don't really know much about the SNES version, and truth be told, I've not played this since I was honestly maybe in the 6th grade. This is partly blind, but I think I remember this game well enough, so let's get started. And like all kids, we're not going to listen to our uncle or our parental figure. No, we're just going to head out. Is there a menu or... I swore there's a way to change the... what is it? The text speed. I don't know, I'm going to have to maybe look that up later. Anyway, I'm really used to the Game Boy Advance, which goes in... Oh, you don't get a magic refill. When you get the lamp on the Game Boy Advance version, your magic gets filled. I don't know why that is. Let's see. Okay, so that's why. Well, on the Wii U gamepad anyway. Wii U gamepad gives me only this feature, which is like a save state. There's going to reset controller settings. It's not much. I don't plan on using that. I might for a few things later on, because... well, there's like a few minigames that are kind of trial and error, and I generally find that doing like this, like using that save point only when that's errors, not get stuff like bosses, I think it's generally quite beneficial, because it would be a lot of time wasted on my part, on your guys' part. Oh no, our uncle! And we get our sword and shield, and our uncle seems to have died. We must avenge him. You have slain our uncle! Didn't stand a chance. How did you lose to him, uncle? I don't even know. Anyway, now we have match. We can press Y in order to use the lantern. I believe it is required. If you miss it in the house, I think that's why they have that chest there, otherwise without the board, because you do need it for a few areas, including one coming up. And then there's another chest that's for that area, because they kind of fought ahead. They were like, whoops, no one picked it up. But anyway, one of the things on the SNES, on the Game Boy Advance version, that I kind of agree with people on is the Young Link audio clips are annoying. Like, growing up, I didn't care because I thought Ocarina of Time was the shit. Or the best game ever. Nowadays, I'm kind of agreeing with everyone. It does the same thing with the Mario World ports, but I don't think it's that bad. I think it's rather amusing and stuff in that game. I don't know if that's just me, but anyway, we have to find Princess Zelda and take out all of these guards. Link to the Past is a very good game in my opinion, if not one of the best on the Super Nintendo. It really shaped the Legend of Zelda series. And I think it also did influence a lot of other games. I believe that we can... I'm trying to see how to get the map to come up, or did we... Okay, so that's how you get that menu, okay. We can't do anything about this yet. We strike it and it just does nothing. But I believe it also influenced 2D games fairly well. I think this and Super Metroid and Super Mario are really, really influential, along with maybe Mega Man X as well. Which I also, all of which I currently playing. Super Mario was the only other one of the 4 that I grew up with. Again, because of the Game Boy Advance port. I never got why there was no Game Boy Advance port of Super Metroid, considering how really well the Metroid 2 was doing at the time. How do I get the map? I'm guessing when I find a dungeon map, it'll tell me, but that might be too late. I think the dungeon map is coming up though, so I'm not too worried. There's not much to Hyrule Castle. Wait, Link to the Past is very influential. A lot of people have noted that Ocarina of Time, the more popular of the 2. And also, I think arguably the most popular Zelda game, because that's what people grew up with the most. That game just had such an impact with the likes of Z targeting and whatnot. I think that's just the most popular one. I think both games are equal. It's kind of hard to compare them because this is a 2D game, whereas Ocarina of Time is a 3D game. Let's see. Oh, X? I'm too used to the Game Boy Advance controls. That's kind of sad on my part, but anyway. The map will show us unopened areas we have not explored. The dark blue areas are those maps. Those areas. The light blue ones, are the ones we visited. The glowing dot is us. What I also picked up was a key. We need that to open doors. Very self-explanatory. A lot of influence in Ocarina of Time, I think, can be seen in this. I think some people even noted that the stories are fairly similar, which I think is fairly true. That's my first real hit. Pots are actually surprisingly, in this point, kind of overpowered, like throwing them. I don't get why, I don't know. Maybe just throwing a pot at someone's head is more damaging than just slashing them with the sword. The spin attack does double damage. It's very useful. Subsequent games would also add to its power, to say the least. Ah, the familiar tape. So, me and Legend of Zelda, it's probably actually my favorite franchise in gaming, if not one of my most top favorite, next to Mario and Sonic. At least for ones that I grew up with that still hold up. I'm looking at you, Crash and Spyro, because, well, let's face it, while Sonic is not doing too well, maybe in another Dark Age, at least there were some pretty good games after the 90s, compared to Spyro and Crash, where one of the games in Spyro is probably one of the worst games I've ever played, and probably one of the worst games most people played. Whereas Crash Bandicoot was, I guess, a little mixed. I don't know. There's Princess Zelda. We have a mini-boss, I guess. That guard there. I prefer just using pots, because it gets rid of him that quick. Then we get a big key. I think it's called Boss Key in subsequent games, at least the 3D entries. We can open this up. Otherwise, it'll say that your key doesn't fit, despite the fact that we don't even have any other keys. Chest! Nah. I kind of thought I went a bit too quick there, but if I am going with the text, this pause the video. So now we have Princess Zelda. Don't worry, she's not like Ashley from Resident Evil 4. She can't defend herself, but oddly enough, enemies don't go after her. I don't know. It's strange because you do have to do an escort mission in this game's sequel, Link Between Worlds, in one of the dungeons, and that damsel is very, very vulnerable. Like, if she gets touched by an enemy, she gets captured, a la Ashley. It's not that bad. It can be annoying, because I swear there's one spot spot where I don't know how to get away from the enemies. Like, I don't know how to save the girl. I don't know how to prevent her from being captured. You guys force enemies down the pit because screw them, they betrayed Princess Zelda. Another thing I sort of, well, not really odd, but thing I found odd when I was younger is how enemies are color-coded for health. Green enemies have like 2 hits, blue have 3. We haven't seen a red enemy yet, but red enemy is aggressive. Like, before, when you enter the screen, it'll see you. And it'll come charging after you. It's not gonna give up. You can't, like, escape. You have to kill it. It's kind of crazy in a sense. Either way, this dungeon is fairly straightforward. It's basically just to get you acquainted with the basic set of the story and so on. I swore there was a chest in here somewhere. I guess not. I think maybe I'm just thinking of the other chest, but the chest we found in Zelda's cell, that was also another opportunity to get the lamp, because you do need it from here on out. I'm not sure what happens if you skip it. I assume the game maybe doesn't let you go by or something. Okay, we're on to roughly the second part of Hyrule Castle. We're now in the sewers. It's pretty dark to see. I don't really like that in games how they have lighting like this, because like for some people who can't really see well, it can be pretty. I think it's worse in 3D games, personally. I mean, I think that Twilight Princess had a lantern, and yeah, Twilight Princess had a lantern, had dark areas, but it wasn't bad compared to like maybe say Crash Bandicoot with its dark stages. Those could be bad. Like, if you lose those light bugs, you were screwed. Those snakes are called groups. I don't get why the rats are just rats. Yeah. So this game isn't really difficult. I would say the difficulty instead comes from the damage enemies. Like, these enemies are just doing, I guess, one hit, like half a heart, because in this game, hearts only are like 2 hits and then they're gone. In later games, it was like 4 to a heart. I think it varied though in Link's Awakening and what is it? In the Oracle games, I don't know. I wouldn't say this is a hard game, not an easy game. I don't know. I'd say more easy than hard, but it's not like overly easy. I think it's almost fits that way around. Really, the only problem is the damage some enemies do can almost be ridiculous. And in A Link Between Worlds, that's where the real difficulty of that game comes from. Because I swear, that game is almost too easy for its own good. Not in a bad way, but it's just like, oh, that thing just took 4 hearts, and on hero mode, it's worse. Again, still not hard, but again, it's... How did that rat get up there? Or is that a... Is that a bat? Oh, that's a bat. I always thought those were rats. Well, I guess they're rodents, technically. I mean, Joker refers to Batman as a rat. Flying rodent, why can't I? Bats in general. Did I miss a key, or do I have to get the rat? Back here. Ah! Get over here! Either way, at least Zelda's in Bongo's now. The only real thing I sort of had a hard time adjusting to was the controls. Even that's not so bad. Anyway, this right here is a bomb wall, but we don't have bombs. That's probably one of the better changes from this game from the original game. And I say the original and not the sequel, because the sequel is a completely different game. It's like, it's a side-scroller. Not that well designed. It is decently designed, but I don't like how the game does things like a live system, but you can't get extra lives anyway. In the first Legend of Zelda, you had to bomb things or set them on fire or something. It was random, kinda. You would have to experiment. There was nothing except a guide that would tell you what's bomb. This game, it outright tells you. It shows you something that's either cracked wall or it makes that sound. Which I think is generally pretty good. It's a very nice change. I'm trying trying to also think of other changes. I know that the inventory system and the map was a generally great upgrade. Yeah, thanks for not telling me, Zelda. I think it's this one? Oh. More of these snake things. Come on. Oh, now you tell me it's this one, Zelda. Thanks. You know you could have gotten yourself killed. So Zelda's safe for now. I don't know. I think a sanctuary with an old man is not really enough. And we get a heart container. Very nice. We're still technically in a dungeon, I don't know. But it is, I think, considered its own dungeon because it's being an entire part of the castle.